Hey guys, it's Jason here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. Today we get to check out the rival MT8. Now this truck has been out for a few years. It came in two different bodies. So I think for the first year it was this blue and white. I think you can still pick up this one. But about a year in, they also came out with this teal green one. And I'm pretty sure that that teal green one meant that you got some upgraded hardware. So you can see on mine, there's a sticker here. It says MT8 Performance Pack. Upgraded tough arms, upgraded durable turnbuckles, impact absorbing shock guards, and the installation hardware. Now, you would have seen this before, guys. I released a video a few weeks ago talking about how I picked up the MT8 and the MT10. At the time of this video, I've already had the MT10 out and I've been having an absolute blast. The MT8 has just been kind of sitting here. I've been kind of just going over stuff and taking my time at this video because I am pumped for this truck. This truck on paper is awesome. When you look at what it comes with, the size, everything, it checks all the boxes. So either way, guys, I just want to get into the box, check out this truck and see what it's all about. All right, guys, here it is, the Team Associated Rival MT8. Now, before we even get into anything, I am going to address the elephant in the room when it comes to this truck, because as I mentioned in one of the earlier videos where I'd kind of talked about getting both the MT10 and the MT8, this truck has a bit of a bad reputation. And I'm hoping, guys, to kind of, I'm not going to say debunk that, but at least see what this truck is all about and definitely give it a chance. I absolutely love the platform. I love the size. I like that it is a shorter wheelbase monster truck, but without the crazy width going on that a lot of stunt trucks have. This just has a really nice overall monster truck feel to it. And besides from the LED wiring, so all this right here, here, and here, that's the one thing when every time I ever saw this truck in a picture, I just couldn't help but stare at that. I feel like Associated should have done something with wire loom, whatever, either a better channel system, something to just make it look nice. Because this is a gorgeous looking truck between the kind of the hybrid setup. So between the aluminum chassis and the plastic shock towers or the composite plastic shock towers, I just feel like that's the one thing that really kind of takes away from a really good looking truck. You've got a nice aluminum motor mount, the aluminum braces here. It's just a very sharp looking truck. The shocks are killer. Even though the back ones do feel kind of, they feel very, I don't know if it's too damped. I don't know. It's hard to explain. They just don't seem to have the rebound that I would want. I would want it to kind of respond a little bit quicker than that, but we'll deal with that once we actually start running the truck. Now, what I was going to do first was immediately install the MT8 service pack. So again, what I mentioned, guys, at the start of the video with this truck having a bit of an interesting sort of reputation was a lot of the videos you see of this truck, they're breaking arms, they're breaking these links, all that stuff. And the fact that Associated includes this with the trucks tells me that, you know what, they've kind of taken, I guess you can say, you know, they're recognizing that there was an issue with the plastics and that hopefully this is going to fix it. My guess is hopefully these are upgraded arms and not just another set of arms. The fact that it refers to it as an MT8 service pack, that makes me believe that it is different quality, a different mixture, however you want to put it, to these parts. And I'm hoping that that answers a lot of these problems. Now, I've got the RPM arms, I've got all those good stuff, guys. I've got tons of upgrades, aluminum knuckles, everything that you can think of, I have for this truck. This is a big build for me. I'm looking forward to doing a lot to it. However, I would like to start off first with the truck RTR, but also the way it was supposed to be. I did notice that in the States and here in Canada, if you get the blue body, so the one that you saw in the unboxing, that truck's been heavily discounted. This one was heavily discounted, I think like almost $200 here in Canada or something close to that. But the teal body truck is not. And that kind of leads me to believe that the teal body truck comes with these newer parts already, where these were added kind of after in the stock that they had left of the blue body truck. So that's kind of what's going on when it comes to this truck, because again, guys, when I look at this truck, besides from that wiring, this is a great looking truck. I love the size. I love everything about it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to, before we continue with the unboxing, I'm going to change all those parts to the service pack parts. So the new arms, the new upper arms / links. I'm also going to pull each differential and tune them properly. I know a lot of people, a lot of videos that I watch, the oils were down. To be fair, almost every company kind of sends their cars that way. So I'm going to tune the center, the front and the rear, probably going to do something like 250 and 40. And then we're going to be back here, guys, to do the actual unboxing. I know I'm getting excited to run this truck, and I don't want to go out and run it without having those changes made. I think the idea of running the plastic that Team Associated has already kind of said, hey, you know what? It's not up to quality. And also, guys, not knowing how the diffs are, I don't think that would be fair to the truck. This truck already has enough kind of hate going on that I think it's better for me to come out with the truck the way it was supposed to be, with the included parts and the diffs tuned. And then that way, when we get out and start running this truck, it is in the best of the Team Associated way, meaning it's got the upgraded parts, the diffs are tuned properly. And then if at that point, you know what, if at that point we start breaking a couple of parts, guys, again, I've got RPM arms, I've got a lot coming. I'm going to go over all those upgrades in another video, just because I feel like this video is going to go on for a little bit of time, and I would like to keep, again, everything about this truck just Team Associated Rival MT8. So how the truck comes out of the box. And again, even though these do come separate, even though this service pack is separate, they still include it. So we're going to get those on first. All right, so I'm into the removal of everything needed to install the service pack. I've already done the one arm, and I just wanted to show you guys kind of the difference in the two arms. Now, I would bet that at first glance, you're probably going to think this one is the new arm, that this is the upgraded arm, the service pack arm. It's not. This is actually the original arm, and this is the new arm. And you can see it looks like there's a lot less material, but kind of a different sort of webbing design. And my guess is, and I'm hoping, that they've kind of changed the material. Now, they both feel the same, and they don't have that good plastic feel, if you know what I would guess a lot of people know what I mean when I say that. Sometimes you can just feel the plastic, especially when it's something like an RPM, or even, guys, actually the Traxxas HD arms is another good example of a very strong arm. Some of the newer Armor arms, this doesn't feel like that. It has kind of a very just plasticky feel to it. It doesn't have like a nice strong composite plastic feel or anything like that to it. So either way, the blue arms are back there. They're going to be going on the truck anyways, but for the purpose, guys, of just kind of giving you guys an idea of what this truck is going to be like out of the box, obviously after you do the service pack, I am going to install the upgraded arms, just so that, again, we can run it with those upgraded arms and see how they are. You do get these little kind of shock guards down here. Now, these make a lot of sense in the front. In the back, not so much, but they did include a front and a rear set, so we're installing those. They give you extra hardware so that you have the screws needed to put these in, as well as, and actually, guys, I haven't tested that yet. So when I get to the second arm, I'll let you guys know, because I did put kind of the original screw back in, and then I noticed that I had these. So I'm not sure if these are longer or not. I don't think they are, but either way, when we get to that next arm, I'll check it over. If you're wondering about the screwdriver, my guess is some of you probably know what's going on there. Give you a little hint over there, but I have some of the pins just kind of sitting here right now, guys, in the CowRC Mousse Lick. This is the silicone spray. By giving these a coat of this first, one, it's going to keep everything a little bit more kind of free flowing, as well as, guys, it does help with rust and all that kind of stuff. And because, you know, these pins aren't really like a high movement type area, it's not like a drive shaft where it's spinning inside or anything like that. This, guys, will actually last it'll last a good amount of time. I'm going to let these sit for a while. I've got lots to do on the truck first. And something I often do when I'm doing hinge pins, because I don't want them to sit, I'm usually don't have the patience to let them sit for a day type thing to kind of cure. What I actually will do is come over to the actual truck itself and give a little tiny shot of the Mousse Lick in here, so that when I put the pin in, there's, you know, a lot of that kind of lubrication to kind of work its way around. And then the truck sits, because to be fair, at that point, I'm usually moving on to another part of the truck, or I'm working on another part of the truck, and then everything has a chance to kind of cure properly. But either way, guys, I just wanted to bring you guys kind of up to where I'm at right now. I'm probably going to do the differential soon too. I'll get that pulled out. So by the time we get to that second arm with letting you guys know about the screw, we'll also be into the rear differential. Now, moving on to the differential, I can confirm, guys, it was very empty when I got into it, barely covering any of the gear. So I've topped it up now with 40 thou. I often do, like I've mentioned, a 200 in the center and then a 50-40, sometimes maybe a little bit thicker in the center. It all depends on the motor. Because I'm going to be sticking to roughly around that 2100 to maybe 2200 kV, I think a 200 in the center is going to be pretty good. Being that this is also a short wheelbase truck, guys, it's going to have tons of power. I think it's going to be, obviously, guys, very wheelie, kind of crazy. As well as, guys, I haven't mentioned this yet. I was going to kind of mention this later on in the video, but I am kind of hoping to sort of go with a 4S kind of setup in this truck. I even had thought of picking up the MT8 2500 kV combo, but I don't know. That might come later on because I do have a couple other trucks that I could use that in, so it would be kind of fun to try it in this. But for now, I am going to be running it stock. And yes, the Cobra 8 2200 kV combo, guys, will find its way into this truck at some point. I want to take this combo out and actually drop it into my SSTE and then run the 2200 in this. That's kind of my plan. I want to try that ESC out for a bit. I want to play with it for a bit, compare it to something like the MT8 Gen 2, so that, again, I can let you guys know if going to something like the Cobra 8 is worth it, because it is quite a bit more money than when you pick up a MT8 Gen 2. They're both roughly 2200. The MT8 combo is a 2250, and they're both censored and all that good stuff. And actually, guys, to be really blunt, I kind of, as of right now, because I haven't really played with the Cobra 8, I do like just the way the Max systems in general work with the programming cards. They're very easy to tune. If you're out and about and you want to tune them, they're very, very easy to tune. So either way, I don't know much, guys, about the Cobra 8. I just know that I do like Castle ESCs. They've always been very strong. Their motors have always been very strong. So, guys, that's why that's there. That actually showed up while I was working on the truck. So either way, I'm not sure, guys. Actually, the other thing, I'm not sure if I mentioned that, yes, the screw that goes into the arm at the bottom of the shock is the same length. So even though you do get those upgraded screws, they are the same length. You just also get 4 shorter ones, which you use to attach the guard right here. Bring you guys in so you guys can check that out. But yeah, we've got all that in, guys. Everything now is good to go. One other thing too, I did change the upper arms. So these now are the upgraded arms. But the one thing I did notice when I was changing them was that they have now fixed the camber. So out of when you first got this, the rear tires had a lot of positive camber. They were kind of sitting like this. And now the link itself is just set up for a little bit less. So hopefully, guys, it'll be, once I get the thing all bolted back together and get the tires on, it'll sit a lot better. Because again, it had a ton of positive camber when I first got it. I've noticed with some trucks that, you know, depending on the type of suspension system they have, that as soon as you kind of push down on them, everything will kind of come in and then be where it's supposed to be. That was not the case with this truck. So again, just something, guys, minor. Again, that's just tightening this thing up, but they've already done that with the new upper arms, new links, whatever, however you want to refer to them. But either way, I'm going to get the rear differential back in the truck. I'm going to get some udder butter on the ring and pinion, and then I think we'll make our way to, I don't know, maybe the center, maybe the front, who knows. Now, one last thing before we move on to the other differentials and the other arms in the front is I just wanted to show the rear differential installed with the udder butter, as well as just to make you guys aware that there is a shim on this side, obviously pushing the ring gear against the pinion. But everything now is good to go in the back, so we're going to button this up and we're going to move on to the front. Now, I realized when I was talking about the rear differential and I was saying that it was low on oil, I didn't actually show you guys what it looked like when I first took it apart. And the front differential is actually worse. There doesn't look to be any oil in there at all. And I know it's kind of hard with the light and all that, but at least with the rear differential, it was somewhat up to the pins, like at least touching the pins, where this looks just completely bone dry, which means the front differential, guys, is not going to behave anything like what it's supposed to. So I'm going to top that up, guys, like I mentioned, with 50 thou. And I have to laugh because of that guy right there. I had taken the cover off and I took the differential out, and then I went to clean it. And for some reason, I didn't think about that shim. And all of a sudden, when I got after I'd kind of cleaned it up and I got it back over here, I was like, oh man, where is that shim? And this is, guys, a pretty good size shim. I don't know the size of it, but it's pretty big. It's a lot bigger than, let's say, what you would find in a Creighton, all that stuff. So all those included shims were a lot smaller than this one. And I searched on the floor, everywhere, in all my cabinets, guys, up on my parts wall, everything, and I could not find a shim that size. I probably spent half an hour to 45 minutes trying to find it. So between looking on the floor, looking everywhere, all around here, the bench, nothing. And sure enough, when I'm finally like, well, I guess I'm going to have to order one, but I might as well keep working on the truck. I come back over here and the shim was just hanging on the CVD. And what a, you know, it's a happy moment when you see that. But anyways, I just thought I'd share that with you guys as well as the diff. I'm going to get this thing filled up and get it all back together and then get into that. All right, guys, so after all that, here it is, the Rival MT8. I think that is the first time I've ever done an unboxing that was pretty much nothing but a setup. Either way, what I'm going to do now, though, is first of all, just go over the looks of the truck. It looks wicked. I love the color combination. I like the body in general. I know a few people thought that it looked too toyish. In my opinion, it looks awesome. It's vibrant. It's going to stand out when you're ripping around. The rims and tires are nice. The only thing when it does come to the rims, guys, these little caps, which are also on the MT10, make sure you remove these first and tighten your wheel nuts. Both the MT10 and the MT8, the wheel nuts were loose. Like, I mean, when I put the wheel wrench on, and even as I was just kind of fitting the wrench, you could feel the wheel nut move. Now, that isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you've ever had a car come where after you remove the hex, you can't get the rim off, that sucks. And I've had it so bad where one literally broke because I just could not get the rim to separate from the hex. So to be fair, not having super tight wheel nuts and having the wheel come off is a good thing. Just remember to do it first. And I mean, these caps are kind of annoying, so I could see people kind of just wanting to get out with the truck and run it, but no, remove these stupid little caps, put your wrench on, make sure your wheel nuts are good to go. Now, this truck does come with a 4mm aluminum chassis. You can see underneath here, these ridges. What's nice about this, guys, is these ridges are actually going to add strength to the chassis where the bends are. So in my opinion, unless you really landed hard on something, I think like right on the chassis, you know, you're coming down off a huge jump, I don't think we're going to have any issues with bending the chassis on this. You also have the braces right here, which are definitely going to help. Now, moving on to the electronics in the truck, you have a Reedy ESC, which is just a rebranded hobby wing. I don't remember the model. It's like a W something, WP150 or something like that. It is a good ESC. It's an older ESC, but it's 150 amp. The only issue with it is that it does have a fixed 6-volt BEC. And the issue with that is the included 25 kilogram servo is 25 kilograms at 7.4. So you're going to be somewhere probably around 20, 21 kilograms. So the only way you're going to get the full 347 ounces of torque out of this is if you put in a different ESC that you can bump up your BEC to, let's say 7.4. Now, I'm going to be changing out, guys, like I've already mentioned, all the electronics in this truck. The servo, the motor, and the ESC will all be going into my SSTE at some point. Not right away. We're going to run the truck lots with this system and see what we can get out of it, check temps. Now, we have already changed out the receiver, so the team associated receiver and radio is gone, and we have a radio link receiver in there so that I can run my RC8X. Now, the suspension on the truck does feel very good. You have aluminum big bore shocks, or 16mm. My only issue with them is that it feels very thick. And it's kind of hard to explain. It just seems, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It feels very thick. I don't know if it's just the way the oil is moving, if the oil is too thick inside of the shocks. I'm not sure. The one thing I did notice though, guys, right away about this truck is that even when you bottom it right out, so we've got the chassis right now sitting on the bench, you still have a good amount of travel left on your shocks, which is always nice because that kind of helps keep the internals of the shocks good. You're not going to break anything inside. So I always kind of check for that on trucks. Even when I've added bigger tires sometimes to a truck, all of a sudden I notice that it no longer bottoms out. So that if you happen to take a really big jump and you're coming down, if that chassis doesn't slap, that means that impact is going to go on your shocks. But either way, guys, we're good to go with this truck. You got a nice big beefy wheelie bar. It's got 4 different settings on it. I'll probably leave it right now where it is. I like to get some height. I'm not one of those people that, you know, I like it to come up, put it that way. As I've already mentioned, I cannot stand the wiring for the lights. I'm probably going to bring that up multiple times until I fix it. I did purchase, I've been buying lots of it lately because some of this wire loom that I've been ordering off Amazon, some of it stretches a little bit and some of it doesn't. So one time I had measured it and then it was going to work with the wires, but then it didn't flex over, it didn't stretch over the actual connector itself. And I hate pulling those pins out. Find they never go back and they're never strong again. So this I think should work. So at some point I will be kind of just obviously, guys, pulling the leads, putting that wire loom over everything just to kind of clean it up a little bit. I like the fact that this truck is an aluminum chassis, but with the plastic towers. Now, again, I don't know the strength of these towers. I don't think I've seen anybody break them yet or anything. So I think that overall, guys, will be a pretty solid setup. The one thing I noticed about the plastics on this truck, and I didn't mention it while I was working on it, was even though I've seen posts where they break, the plastic itself does seem to be strong. What I mean by that is when you're kind of screwing into that plastic and you get kind of like right at the end of your turn type thing, it doesn't feel like the screw's going to go through or anything like that. It's a very strong plastic, which kind of makes me sort of understand the brittleness of it, because that's usually the way it works. Something that's very, very strong that way ends up usually being brittle, and something that kind of has some flexibility to it usually will be a little bit better for like arms and jumps and stuff like that. But when you're kind of screwing into it, you'll notice that your screw sort of just, it doesn't bite, it just wants to keep going. I definitely noticed that when I was working on the diffs with the diff cups. That was crazy. One of the first screws I put in, I actually was putting it in with my drill, and I had the clutch kind of not set up properly. Well, just, it wasn't awful, but it wasn't, you know, kind of at its lowest setting type thing. And it went in and it stopped. The clutch went, and I was like, whoa. I'm like, I actually, because I was like, oh crap. But surprisingly enough, guys, the diff cup took it, it stopped the screw. So again, it's kind of you got an interesting plastic going on here, because on one side, it does seem to be very strong. It seems to be a good material, but at the same time, again, only based on what I've seen of the truck online, it does seem to be a little bit brittle. One thing to note, because I'm just looking at it right now, this receiver box is very small, super small, to the point that the standard kind of radio link 7-channel receiver that I use with the 2 antennas kind of pointing out did not fit. And it even when I put it up on its side, it was still very, very awkward on the antennas. So I have one of the kind of mini receivers in here. They're the ones that are good for 400 meters, which will be lots for me. All right, guys, so I know that was a bit of a different unboxing. It was kind of spent more on the actual setup and the parts that were included than actually going over the truck itself. But you know what? I just really wanted to get all that stuff out of the way, and it was good to show it in this video, because if you happen to pick up the MT8 while it's on sale, I definitely, guys, recommend doing everything that I did today with your truck. That way, you know what, you're not going to get out for that first run and find out that, yeah, maybe the arms are that cheap and you break one 2 minutes into it. Or again, you're out with it and you're thinking, hey, you know what, the truck's not handling all that well, but then you realize that your differentials don't have any oil. And I'll be fully honest with you guys, I think this is probably the most time I've ever spent with an RTR right out of the box. So usually it's kind of like, oh, you know, I just want to get it running. I'm excited to run it. So I get it out. Then I come back and I start my tuning. I'll double check my mesh and all that kind of stuff. But this truck, guys, I don't know what it is. I just really wanted to get all this stuff out of the way first, knowing that when I take this truck out, the plastics have been upgraded. The diffs are all tuned. Everything is good to go. The stock radio is out of it. I got my radio link receiver in there. I'm pumped for that. Now, all I have to do is hope that the weather holds off for me and I can get out and run this truck. I've actually done everything that you saw in this video, guys, was kind of done over probably about a week's time on lunch breaks and stuff like that while I was working from home. So I haven't really had time to get out and run the truck, but I at least got all this stuff done. So either way, super pumped, guys, for this truck. Next video will either be a first run video, or if the weather ends up being bad and we end up getting a ton of rain, because that does look like it's possibly coming, it may be just kind of a minor upgrade video showing everything that I picked up for the truck, because there is a lot. You saw the Castle Cobra 8 in this video. You saw some of the Red Cat parts. You've seen the RPM arms. There's a lot going on. So either way, guys, I'm super pumped for this truck. Very happy that I picked it up. The MT810, sorry, the MT810 over here, I think you guys can see it. It's been a super fun truck, but it is a 3S truck. It's a smaller 1/10 scale truck, and there's a lot of things that it just doesn't take and it doesn't do. Where this thing, guys, on the other hand, is a really great size. I like the stance. I like the width. I like everything about it. It's obviously, guys, a little bit smaller than your usual 1/8 scale trucks, like something like a Creighton or a Kronos or the Kagama. But I think, guys, for doing like stunts and backflips and wheelies and all that stuff, this truck is going to absolutely rule. So, guys, as always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up, subscribe, and if you're interested, guys, in the MT8, there is going to be a lot of content on this truck because, again, I am pumped for it. I've picked up so many parts that, yeah, you're going to be seeing a lot of it. And, well, enjoy the picks.